It truly pains me to make this video, but I think it's time to admit that things just aren't working. I personally have had an amazing time here in crypto, but over the last 8 years, I've really not had a chance to think of what my life is beyond this industry. And after the beatdown that I've gotten over the last few months, I think it's time to wave the white flag and to try to understand where my life goes from here outside of this industry. I'm looking back trying to figure out what I did wrong, and in the end, I just don't think I have what it takes to do this anymore. So this is it. This is my final video. I'm going to turn my attention now to spending some more time with my family, figuring out which direction is next for me. I appreciate all your support and wish you guys the best of luck with the rest of your journey in crypto. Psych? No, double psych. Actually, triple psych. That double would have canceled it out. And let's make the last psych a super psych. Do you think I'm just gonna give up 8 years of living and breathing this industry each and every day? You think I'm just gonna give up as we're on the brink of a golden era here in this industry? Well, the reality is that couldn't be further from the truth. And even though I flipped into a dirty little bear over the last few weeks, the truth is that that is not my natural form. I'm extremely excited for what comes next in crypto, and the uncertainty that I've felt, the uncertainty that has gripped this industry can really be tracked back to one particular source. And I'm going to reveal that to you right now. Chris, cut the music. By the way, if you don't know Chris, he's the one who makes all those magical and often very disturbing face swaps of me. Thank you, Chris. But let's have a real talk right now, because the realities right now in crypto are very depressing. There is a ton of real quitting and quiet quitting happening across the entire industry. And I'm going to help you understand why this particular moment is so hard, but also why I believe what comes after this moment will be so rewarding. There is absolutely no question that what is coming is a golden era. And the question is, how do we get the most out of this? How do we juice the lemon for the most value? And that's exactly going to be the topic of today. And very importantly, I want to talk about an update to this channel, because I'm going to be trying to change the type of content I do here to roll with the times. Before we get all crazy, I want to take a second to go over just how uncertain the moment we're in is. And I think nothing sums this up better than this comment from the Fed. This is an interview that we just got released today from the Atlanta Fed's Bostich on how he sees the markets developing. Listen to this.
One gets the impression that you don't really have a clue at this point.
Well, what we've heard and what I've heard is that we don't really know where the economy is going to go.
Okay, that chunk alone is insane. You have the Atlanta Fed president saying straight up, we don't know which way the economy is going to go. We have no idea. And mind you, this is a lot due to the uncertainty created with the Trump tariff trade war. Of course, that is introducing a ton of noisy data into the mix, and nobody knows exactly what's happening. Is this short term? Is he actually going to do the tariffs or not? We'll get to that in just a few minutes, but this is crazy. The Atlanta Fed, the Federal Reserve, is coming out and saying, we don't know which way the markets are going to go. We have no idea.
We're getting government by tweet and things change all the time. Are you sort of foreclosed from acting preemptively? Are you going to be necessarily behind the curve?
So again, this is the interviewer on Bloomberg saying, so what's the deal here? You don't know which way it's going to go. Is that why you're not doing anything? And listen to this response.
I don't think we're going to be behind the curve, mainly because we know we're waiting. And so from my perspective, the longer you have to wait, that means your actions when you decide that it's clear where the economy is going are going to have to be larger than they would be otherwise.
Okay, a lot to unpack there. But the point of me showing you this clip is to illustrate the fact that in the economy, nobody knows what the is going on. It's not just here in crypto. This is a macro move that, in my opinion, has completely upended a lot of people, a lot of traders, and they're blaming themselves when in reality, we're just swimming through some ridiculous, muddy, shark-infested waters. It won't always be this way. Oftentimes, trends are pretty easy to spot. But the Atlanta Fed just told you one more thing. Bostich just said that they're not behind the curve because they're waiting. Obviously, they are behind the curve because they're waiting. But what he said right after that was the most important, which is that when they act, they're going to act in a big way because they're going to be very confident which direction the market's going. And to me, it just reads like they're waiting for something to kind of break once again, where they'll rush in, and the Fed put, where they come in and save the day and fire hose the economy with money, is coming back in a big way. They just want to try to do that after they feel like they've broken the back of inflation. So once again, not a lot of new information, but this is really important to illustrate that as of today, March 24th, 2025, the Fed has no idea, zero idea. They have 2,000 economists on payroll, and they have zero idea which direction this market is going. Yeah, it makes me feel a little better. But I wanted to bring up this tweet, which I think is very relevant, and I think it applies very much so to the moment we're in right now. This is Cred, who's been at this Anon Twitter account. It's been around, I don't know. I just can never remember a time where he wasn't tweeting. So he says, trading is hard. Most traders have not outperformed buying and holding the S&P. Even fewer traders have outperformed buying and holding Bitcoin. The P&L cards and portfolio screenshot carousels on social media aren't real life. While it might seem that, quote, everyone is trading millions and always winning, what you're really seeing is a mix of the top 0.1%, survivorship bias, and in some cases, outright forgery. We know there's a lot of money in pretending to be a good trader. Oh yeah, follow my group, join my paid group. And that's how people end up, making a career here in crypto. So there is quite a bit of fake P&L screenshots happening on the timeline. In the end, we just don't know what is real. But what I can guarantee you is happening is very few people are winning right now. I know this from my personal friend group. I know this from talking with top traders. Very few people have crushed it over the past cycle. And most of them have crushed it off of one or two solid bets that happen to play out in a big way. Anyway, he says he's a decent-ish trader, but essentially got very lucky being early from 2017 and not blowing up completely. None of this should discourage you, just a reality check. I think it's a good reality check because a lot of people feel like, especially in this meme coin mania we had, oh, everyone is making gen wealth overnight. Why aren't I? And in reality, the very few people who were making gen wealth overnight were either operating on insider information or mostly just completely hiding their losses, showing their wins. And most of the big meme coin traders ended up giving it all back, chasing massive gains on things like Trump, Libra, and other just straight rug pulls. So the moment we're in is one in which almost everyone I know has been humbled. Even the biggest, the most contrarian bears missed the whole run up on Bitcoin, Solana, some of the other good alts that went crazy. And the most audacious bulls got clobbered by remaining bullish at the highs. It seems that everyone has been reduced in some way. Of course, some people did really well in that early pre-inauguration phase. Good for them. I think it's a very small minority of people that did that well. Right now, the question is, why is it so hard? And the answer to me is very simple. The reason why crypto went so thermonuclear crazy in the lead up of this election was because one man promised to bring this industry to the next level. And at the time, and even now, the political momentum that Trump had is insane. It's probably more than we've seen, at least in my lifetime with any politician, the amount of control and influence. So very, very sensible people having very sensible thoughts were, yeah, maybe this guy can truly elevate crypto, create a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and embed it in the financial system of the United States. Now, the reality is that these things take time. And in the short term, Trump's goals seem to have been to actually crash the economy. But is this actually the case? Because now we're getting conflicting information each and every day. And I think we're going to see a major, major point of resolution on this in just a few days. The reason is because we have April 2nd, which is, as Trump's calling it, Liberation Day, where he's effectively going to impose all these tariffs. Now, tariffs have been the big, cog in the wheel. This has been the big monkey wrench here that's been messing everything up because people don't know how to price this in. They don't know if it's going to be inflationary, deflationary, competitive, whether other countries are going to jump in and do crazy favors for the US in response to these tariffs and therefore offset them. There's too many factors. And absolutely no one, especially the Fed, can't even tell you if it's inflationary. As Kruger is saying here, April 2nd is similar to election night. It's the biggest event of the year by an order of magnitude 10x more important than FOMC, which is a lot, and anything can happen. Trump could go soft, in which case markets would rally fast and furiously, or could go halfway, adding uncertainty on the timelines, in which case markets would take out all the stops of longs and shorts, or go all out, in which case the market could easily crash another 10 or 15% fast. Essentially, anything could happen. Anything. It could go hard, soft, in between. Maybe he could do a few hard pushes and then he could lighten up for the romance. We don't know how this Trump tariff lovemaking fiesta is going. We just don't know. But the point is that we're actually going to find out soon, because this isn't governance by tweet anymore. We're going to see things put into effect. And the question is, what exactly are those going to be? Is it going to be the toughest version of them? Should we be taking Trump very seriously or not? Now, what's wild is, in some senses, he's being more lenient, but in some senses, he's being even crazier. Today, he said, look at this. Any country that purchases oil and gas from Venezuela will be forced to pay a 25% tariff on any trade, which is crazy because any country that buys oil from Venezuela includes China, which he had originally proposed a 10% tariff for. Now it's going to be 25% across the board. So this is a crazy kind of wild approach to tariffs. Again, we don't know what is real or what is fake, but we did see this. Just today, we see Trump coming out and saying, I may give a lot of countries breaks, but it's reciprocal. But we might be even nicer than that. AKA, like, it could be anything. Nobody knows? And that's the biggest problem, is that these markets are reacting to information that might not be real information. These tariffs may or may not be real. They may be figments of my imagination. We don't know what to do with a tariff that may or may not exist and fundamentally reshape these trade relationships. So that's where we're at. But right now, it sort of feels like he's using it as a stick, but constantly pulling the stick away and replacing it with a carrot. It's very hard to take Trump at his word because his word's changing day by day. As Marty says here, Trump agrees that Jerome is out of line. He even tweeted this, saying the Fed would be much better off cutting rates into Liberation Day. So you could see that Trump was expecting probably Jerome Powell and the Fed to do more as he was having all this tough talk. He thought he could push Jerome Powell into cutting very quickly, which begs the question, does he expect us to go down further, or did he think that that was enough? Does Trump want a full recession, or did he think he could get his results with just a little scare? Right now, it seems like a standoff right now between Trump, Bessent, and the Fed. All the while, we've seen all of this fear has really translated over into crypto. Got EllioTrades all flooded out, expecting lower. And Aporia here, who actually had amazing analysis earlier on in this cycle, called for 110 being the top and called for a revisiting of the 70K range, is now saying, hey, look, honestly, it feels like there isn't much more to say except we're probably bottoming out around here. And she tweeted this earlier today. That's in the mid 80,000s. And if we see here, obviously, this is a log chart, I think. So, this is a big gap between the little levels here. But we could easily go and revisit these lows. But my gut is starting to say that if Trump doesn't go as crazy on tariffs, that he will kind of be seen as the boy who cried wolf, that the markets will stop really pricing in this hardcore Trump and start pricing in more of just a loudmouth Trump and not really taking him seriously. I think that there's kind of a double-edged sword effect with that, because he might not like that and overcompensate to make the markets fall in line. Who knows? But I do think what we'll see on April 2nd will be revealing as to what Trump thinks is the maximum he can get away with actually being productive and not just essentially hurting the economy to hurt the economy. So as we look at this, and I'll bring up my zones here, but I wanted to first just show you very simply, very cleanly, here are the levels, right? We have the prior high, really easy to see, and it's at 93K pretty much. Just think 93, that's where this wick high was back on the 7th of March. Then we have the low from the 11th of March, and that was 70, just call it 77K. This is our range. We're right smack in the middle, so there's not really a lot to be done here. But if we get above this, very, very bullish. I think that if we go and revisit these lows, I do think that this low should be held. I would be very, very skeptical now with this new low established about breaking down here further. I don't think that's what we want to see, and I don't think that would be very bullish. In fact, I'm going to combine this with some analysis from Eric Crown, where he effectively was saying the blue buy signal for the hash ribbons is not confirmed yet, but if it confirms, that would mean effectively that this low of 77,000 must hold. And if it doesn't hold, that essentially the cycle's over. So with this, I've updated my zones, and this is my new plan going forward, which is effectively we're kind of in the no action zone, no trade zone, which I've now put between about 90K or so and 85K. That's my no action zone. But I do think that there's potential that we could revisit this new buy zone, which goes down, and effectively I cut it off at the bottom of that wick. So anything below that new lows becomes who knows? I don't know. It doesn't feel good. But I could definitely see us, trying to form a bottom here if tariffs are not as bad as we expected. And that would mean that if we kind of play around here and maybe go down here, I would be looking to get long in this zone. I would think that would be probably a good R&R bet. And of course, if we fall below that, then you'll know, okay, pretty quickly, if you can buy close to the bottom of the zone here, you can easily see, okay, this is going to get way more brutal if we fall below this wick, because then we could go down and easily test the bottom end of the range between prior all-time highs. And one of the biggest bears, the one who called for a full financial crisis, Arthur Hayes, is now saying he expects us to go to 110K before it retests the lows. He believes that the Fed is going from QT to QE for treasuries. I don't quite see that. I wonder what he's basing that on. So we'll see in his next essay, which, we'll be waiting with bated breath. But he said what he means to say is that we're most likely to hit 110K before 76. And if we hit 110K, then it's Yahtzee mode straight through to 250K, AKA we're going to get the Giga Bull Run, the golden bull run that we've all been waiting for. Believe me, no one wants to see this more than me. Again, if we get over 94, I'm back in fully. Like, even if all these trade ideas don't percolate properly, I'm back in the market fully if we go above 94K. Of course, there are two wolves inside of me. The bull wolf, which is always there. I know, bear Elio is no fun, but the bull Elio is still screaming to come out. The bull in me says sentiment feels like whoever sold has sold. We can't really go that much lower because sentiment's so bad. It's the worst I've ever seen. Sellers have already sold, market due for a relief rally, which is maybe what we're seeing now. Maybe it's more. Tariffs are priced in. Maybe it's hard to price in things you don't know, right? But this is where I think we're really undervaluing some of the things happening, which is regulatory clarity. If we get a regulatory framework so that, say, X can launch a cryptocurrency, say major startups like Google, like Apple can launch cryptos, who knows who's going to come out and create absolutely rock star real products with real tokenomics that benefit and sort of open those ecosystems. That could be what's coming with regulatory clarity, right? It's not just, oh, wow, shitcoin devs are all in the clear now. No, we could see the biggest companies on earth launch cryptos and bring in massive amounts of liquidity. Speaking of liquidity, stablecoins are 100% the top priority for this administration, and that won't happen immediately, but the stablecoins in the crypto industry are going to grow to $1 trillion very quickly. And these stablecoins will bring with it straight up more money into crypto of all kinds. And the US finally realizes that this is the best thing for the US dollar and that those stablecoins are the only people buying en masse US bonds. So more stablecoins is the best possible thing for the US right now. They get that. It reinforces US dollar dominance. And if we get a flood of trillions of dollars of stablecoins coming into crypto, that is more real hard currency coming into this industry and boosting our coins. It's going to be a massive, massive benefit to crypto. It's just straight up new money coming in. And then finally, maybe they do buy some Bitcoin. Maybe the Bitcoin strategic reserve ends up materializing. They find budget neutral ways to buy Bitcoin. Maybe they sell some gold. Who knows how they're going to do it, but maybe this happens, right? This is the outside chance, but maybe it does happen. So this is the bull case, and this is very strong. The bear case is pretty much Trump wants lower. And what will he do to get it lower? He could do a lot of things. Was it going to go that low on its own? I don't know. But it sort of feels like, yeah, he wants lower. The market is also not sure if Trump tariffs are real. This is why it could be not fully priced in, could go lower, AKA that would be the bearish outlook. Finally, people are financing Chipotle burritos. That's just not what you want to see if you're expecting the market to get full wet and wild bull run. You don't want to know that people are, deciding whether they want more meme coins or more nachos. That's just not the decision you want people making. You want people feeling fat, happy, like their basics are taken care of, and they're here spending their excess capital in crypto. That's the sign of a hot market. But this is not. So that's definitely bearish, right? Murky waters, and we'll see more after Liberation Day, April 2nd. We even have one of the, obviously best traders in the market, Ansem, who flipped Giga Bear at the top. Now he's saying, look, if Solana holds over 137, he sees the on-chain coins going crazy, probably going to double in a few weeks. And he's essentially saying Solana meme coins, which have been beaten down. No one believes they can go up ever again. It was the source of a lot of the weakness in the market. Of course, nothing is ever over, right? And so maybe he's right. Obviously, if Solana is beginning its comeback, then the things tied to Solana will most likely begin their comebacks. And I found this interesting. G from Athena, this is one of the Athena team members, said, in the last 2 years, we've had only 2 periods where funding averaged below risk-free rates for more than 2 consecutive weeks. So what does this mean? Usually in a bull run, when people want to bet long or short, when they want to essentially use leverage, they have to pay the other side funding if their side is more in demand. Like when things are hot and bullish, everyone wants to long. So you have to pay people to take the other side of that bet with shorting. And people do that, but they earn fees from doing that. So there's only been a few periods where you actually are earning less than you would by parking your money in T-bills with the Fed, because this is riskier stuff to take shorts and stuff. So alts typically, apparently, have gone vertical on both occasions that this happened before. This was October 23 and October 2024. If you remember that, those explosive moments, those were the best moments we had on this channel over the last few years, was that Q4 moment in 23 and in 24. And Q1 2024 was also very good. But the reality is that this has apparently been a new indicator that he's introducing, which is when the funding rates get so low that they're actually lower than you can get in T-bills, that's a sign that the froth has just been completely reset and that there's an opportunity for up. And I wouldn't be shocked if this is true, because we know alts are down like 90%. It's not going to take a lot to get some movement back. But does that mean we are so back? Are we in the trap zone? Are we in the no action zone? I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to pretend like I'm perfect and that these levels are holy and perfect. I'm not trying to say I'm perfect, but I am shifting more into a trader if-then scenario, because this is not a market that you can oversimplify. There is nuance here. The market is complex, probably the most complex I've seen it in my time in crypto, where you have macro and micro pulling like crazy, bullish fundamental news, bullish news, regulatory clarity, stable coins, new inflows, ETFs, and all of it is getting this Trump sledgehammer of massive uncertainty. There is a lot to unpack here, and I don't think anyone can tell you with 100% confidence, certainly not the Fed, which direction the economy is going, even with 2,000 economists on their payroll. So this is what I have. I'm going to be buying back fully if we get up into these sort of mid 90,000s. I see this as probably the biggest risk zone, right? These low 90s, high 80s. And this is just my no action zone, but I will start buying as we come down below 85K on Bitcoin, because I could see something happen where Trump actually goes kind of soft and you're like, oh, wow, he didn't go crazy on tariffs. Everything's good. And then Bitcoin just plays out its dump that it was going to do, its retest of these lows, and everyone freaks out. But that actually is the one to buy. That's the dump to buy, because now we've gotten the sort of tariff uncertainty out of the way. The market never acts in a very coherent and very obvious way, and most of the pumps and dumps really serve to get people out of the market. For some sobriety here, from the bear case, we have Meltdown here saying fading this little alt rally, macro outlook still cooked, crypto market structure still broken, may the odds be forever in your favor. Now, when I look at my handy dandy watch list here, I see MOG going bananas, I see Taobot going bananas, I see Cerebro going bananas, Barachain, Pi, Pudgy Penguins going crazy, Superverse like Sonic. These are all, coins that we were very, very bullish on. And these are some of the biggest gainers today. And so what I think of is, where were we right? Like, where were we right and where were we wrong? I think obviously timing wise, we were very wrong. But the question is, were we right about the types of assets that will do well as liquidity expands? Right now, in a macro liquidity contraction that's hitting the stock market, that's hitting real estate, that's hitting crypto, nothing's going to be safe, right? Nothing's going to be safe. But if Trump doesn't actually kill the markets and he isn't able to successfully clobber them, either by being inconsistent on tariffs and the market stops believing him, or by just going soft on tariffs, that would be enough that I would see, okay, liquidity is probably going to start expanding again. And the question is, where were we right and where were we wrong? Let's just try to assess those realistically. And I think what's pretty clear is that a lot of the coins that we like here on the channel are looking like they could do very well. Again, most of the coins, especially the ones I just read to you, I still hold in size. I know because I said I was selling some stuff, everyone thinks I'm out of the market. I try to be very clear. That's not the case. I still hold a lot of these coins, just a lot of them, just a little depressing to look at what they're worth now. The question, of course, isn't what they're going to be worth today, but tomorrow. And if we see on these bounces that a lot of these coins are having massive double-digit % moves on the good days, well, that's a good sign that when things get better, those will be the coins you want to hold. These kind of bounce days give you a lot of insight as to what's going to be a fast mover. And I'm personally very excited by feeling like, okay, I got the timing wrong, but I think generally my thesis on assets is largely correct. Now, let's talk about for a second what's going to happen next on this channel, because I think it's really important. Because while I am not quitting, and I certainly never quit, the reality is that I do want to update what I'm doing here in crypto land. I want to update the way I deliver content to you guys, because over the last sort of year and a half, since October 2023, I've made my content almost exclusively about what I'm buying, what I'm selling, and short-term sort of price-related moves in the markets. And while that stuff is very useful and probably the vast majority of what people want to see out of crypto YouTube, the reality is I'm very interested in a lot of other stuff as well, beyond just the micro movements of altcoins, which in this case are dependent on factors that I cannot control in a lot of situations. So I just don't want to be waiting around. I hate waiting around. And I'll be starting to introduce and cover different topics that I find interesting. It could be even stuff that might not be fully crypto related, but stuff that I believe is valuable, relevant, and interesting. So I'll be expanding my wings and expanding the types of content that I'll be creating here beyond just the price sensitive altcoin focused type of videos. Though I will still, of course, be continuing to cover my portfolio, my strategies in the market. There's just other stuff that I think would be cool to make videos out of, and I'll start to iterate on that and have more of a widespread, almost journalistic approach to crypto in general. And also, I think that there's just been a lot of changing dynamics around crypto that are worthy of talking about, that maybe they're not so bullish, maybe some are bullish and nobody's talking about those, but I want to create a more authentic journalistic vibe. That's not just a diehard moon boy bulltard, which I will be and continue to be, because I genuinely believe this industry is wildly undervalued. I believe this is still everyone's best shot to make it is here in crypto. But more to the point, I think there's just other stuff to talk about, and I appreciate you guys' support as I grow the channel and what it can be. Anyways, as I start to see confirmation as to which way this market wants to go, I'll be showing you, which was what I think of a pretty obvious list of main target coins that I'll be looking to get long on and my strategy going forward, where I think everything's going to go. But I wanted to make this video effectively talking about my frustrations with the industry, my frustrations with my own content, and even the reality that for me, the last few months have been almost unbearable in crypto land. And I know for a fact that the projects are well funded. We have a very active project. The community is very, very excited. The YouTube that we've built here is still very active, very exciting to run and very exciting to manage with you all. There's a ton of tech coming. There's a ton of releases coming and news coming. And in general, everything that I'm working on is absolutely pushing forward and, depending on how you define it, varying degrees of success. But I can tell you there's a lot of other projects here that are not feeling that. And I'm very worried that if this bear trend extends, there's going to be a lot of quiet quitting, a lot of real quitting happening across the space because people just do not have the stamina. Either they don't have the finances or they don't have the mental stamina to keep going in this industry. What that means is that the people who do survive, the holders that survive, the projects, the founders, the teams that are able to keep it going, the investors that are able to stay in the market, remain rational, and keep a low time preference for when these things happen, they're going to crush it. And I believe that if you gravitate towards those projects that have extreme survivorship bias, that have extreme ability to survive whatever comes their way, that you will eventually become massively, massively successful if you're not already. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to be doing a lot more and different types of content. If you like this, make sure to click on this video, smash that like button, and I'll see you very soon on the next one.